Hello guys, in this video I'm gonna tell you about one metric that can tell us about company's moat more than anything else. This metric is called Rule of 40. This is the metric calculated as a sum of revenue growth and free cash flow margin and was invented by several venture capitalists to understand how growth balances with profitability. So the rule of thumb here is that revenue growth plus free cash flow margin should be higher than 40%, and let's say the company grows by 80% and it can withstand a 40% loss on the free cash flow, and overall rule of 40 would tell us that that's normal. Of course, we'd love stocks which are profitable and grow by a lot. That's why visualizing the metric like this can be helpful. I'm gonna showcase this metric on Palantir that has a very superb Rule of 40 score, a legendary one. So if we go to ValueSense stock charting, we click revenue growth, free cash flow margin, Rule of 40, just to illustrate how this whole math works. We can go to last 12 months metrics and choose the time frame we want to analyze. So let's say we start with Q. Let's start with this time frame. So we can see that overall Palantir grew its free cash flow margin and continues to do so, which is incredible. Its revenue growth has accelerated by a lot. So it had a 16.7% in Q4 2023, but it then grew more than twofold recent quarter. And we can see that its Rule of 40 is higher than, it's almost 90%, and continues to grow with expansion of margin and revenue growth acceleration. So this is great. I mean, 40% is great, but 90% is legendary. If we compare it with NVIDIA, let's say we add NVIDIA, which is a stock that holds the world economy, and we click on view by metric. So the margins are like getting even, I should say. It would be interesting to check NVIDIA's most recent free cash flow margin and look at free cash flow and look at Rule of 40. I mean, NVIDIA is incredible, but they had a downfall from the Rule of 40 perspective, mainly due to revenue growth deceleration. I mean, the company grows by 3 digits, but yeah, I mean, it cannot do it forever. So this is, you can use stock charting to visualize Rule of 40 for any stock. Say Microsoft, you can compare the stock. You can compare the stocks by Rule of 40 and visualize it. And if you feel so, you can download all the data, all the financials. If I click here, it will download 3 Excel files with all financial data of Palantir, NVIDIA, and Microsoft. And of course, Rule of 40 will be there. Another tool that can be used to analyze Rule of 40 is a stock screener, of course. We'd love to understand stocks that have a high Rule of 40 score, and we can go to ValueSense stock screener, then click on profitability, expand all filters, and here there's Rule of 40. We can select any metric we'd love. I prefer to look at legendary score higher than 70%, and let's click update screener. So in a second it will update the stock screener with all the stocks that have Rule of 40 higher than 70%. So it's thinking a bit, it's 371 stocks, which is incredible. It's close to 8% of the whole market. And yeah, here we get all the stock selection. Plus, we can check all the metrics. We can look at ratings, intrinsic value scores, profitability, health, capital allocation, and so on. I mean, we got all the stocks. I mean, there are big names. Palantir is here, of course. And lots of other stocks. CoreWeave, which is incredible. I mean, no surprise. CoreWeave has 800% revenue growth, which is cool. And yeah, their free cash flow margin is negative to 150%. So overall, these like balances, but of course, would love companies that are profitable. I can also put a filter of free cash flow margin or positive free cash flow margin, which can further narrow down the list. Let's do that as well. So out of 271 stock, 215 are left, which is cool. I can also screen for undervalued stocks. And yeah, I mean, that's a powerful stock screener. Another cool thing is that there's a heat map for the stock selection that we got. So all the stocks that were screened using the stock screener, they appear on this heat map. And look at this, I can even put the Rule of 40 score here. And of course, it will show super green because that's something that we screened for, but this is cool. We can also backtest the resultant stock selection from, so this is the backtesting of 215 stocks that we got. And we can see that, yeah, those stocks with legendary Rule of 40, they really outperform the market by a ton. It would be cool to understand what was their Rule of 40 back in this time, but yeah, we see that yeah, survivorship bias is real. Those stocks outperform. Another tool to visualize Rule of 40 is a stock heat map. Of course, I showed it in a stock screener, but here we can check Rule of 40 for the whole S&P 500 or NASDAQ, which is cool. We can click on Rule of 40 here. And look here, we have, of course, almost all technologies higher is in the higher 40s. Apple is a bit lower, but yeah, because of their lower revenue growth. But overall, yeah, the whole market is not on par based on this metric. Communication services and tech, mainly tech, just pushes the market forward. And really cool feature for investors is having their own watch list. And let's say there is a selection of your own, let's say you have, I have a watch list of Warren Buffett's second quarter of 2025 new buys, and it will show me the stocks that Warren Buffett bought, and I'll have my custom heat map just for that, just for the stock selection. So for individual watch lists, we can also look at the heat map and select Rule of 40 scores. So that's interesting. So most recent Warren Buffett new buys, I'd love to understand Rule of 40 for those stocks. Here. I mean, it's not the best. Of course, it's all within 40%, but yeah, Warren Buffett knows what he's doing. He doesn't need our advice. But yeah, I mean, you can create your own heat map and analyze how Rule of 40 works on top of your own custom heat map. So it's been it for the overview of Rule of 40, how you can use it in investing, and which tools you can apply to analyze this metric. Hope it was helpful. Let me know what you liked in the comments, and see you in the next video. Bye.